Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back in the shop working on your favorite cheap 240SX drift build, the world's cheapest turbocharged Nissan 240SX drift build. I am going to keep saying that until we name it, and we can't name it until we drive it, so I should finish this so we can drive it. Today we're going to be working on some more infrastructure to get it running. I'm looking at getting the gas tank in, fuel pump, fuel lines, probably get the turbo manifold on, the turbo on, and all of the supporting equipment to get this thing running. And then I'll stop bugging you about the name. But until then, if you have any name suggestions, put it down in the comments. Let me know. I want to name it so I can stop saying that as much as you want me to stop saying that. But first thing, we have to get some rust out of the trunk. And today we have some help. My girlfriend is gonna come help us get this thing ready. There might be a bigger story behind that than just helping me get the car ready. First, we're gonna get it on the lift, get the garage cleaned up because it's an absolute mess. And then Megan's gonna fix the trunk and get it ready to spray paint. Gonna pull the wheels off. She's gonna take the trunk and clean it so we can get it sprayed with the rust converter, and then we're gonna bleed brakes. Maybe. Couldn't find the brake pads. Didn't know that 92 is old now, so that's a problem. Yeah, it's a little loose. Oh yeah. Someone like cut these fucking dust shields to fit the rotary. So when I purchased the car, it had Z32 brakes on it, and that requires a larger disc, so the stock brakes that we have will not work. I do have a set of Z32 brakes in the shed that I don't have now, so we're gonna move on to getting the fuel pump in, the tank in, hopefully getting that plumbed. I don't know if I have the fittings for the tank to the chassis, and the rear brakes are also wrong. I don't even know what these are. Thanks, Anthony, appreciate it, my guy. So this is the tank that came out of the blue car. It never had a fuel pump inside the tank, so we'll have to modify the pickup. This is a 525 pump. Should be way more than enough to get this Turbo K running. Sending unit does have AN fittings welded to the top hat, so I'll have to find adapters to go to the standard, I think they're 3/8 lines in the car. All right, so we got the pump all mocked up on the sending unit. We're gonna get this thing installed, find the fittings, and hopefully get it plumbed and get some power to it. It's nice, whoever took the gas tank out left me the bolts and the straps because I didn't have any straps. Okay. Well, it actually melted the cover from the race car, so let's cut that out.
A grommet? Wow, who painted that?
Look at you in here. These fittings I welded onto the top of the hat for the race car, and I had to notch out the top of this trunk lid, and it looks like we're gonna have to do that anyway because it's actually, you couldn't even put this cap on it without interfering with the fittings. So we're going to plug these, cut this open, then we'll get new fittings that are probably at a 45-degree angle to go down to the factory plumbing, and then I need to find the wires for this. Oh, over there. Dog. Don't even, bro. See if the pump fires. For those of you that don't know what's going on, whoever bought this 240 prior to me put all of the wires and fuse boxes in the trunk. The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So now they're back here. We can jump the fuel pump relay and make sure that the pump is turning on. And then we can move forward without having to drop the tank again. Yeah. Oh. Positive. Ground. And that's the other thing. I never found where you plug the ECU into the harness. Usually it's in the passenger side kickwell, and there is nothing there. So I don't know where you're supposed to plug in the computer. Good thing we're not using the factory computer because I don't know where to plug it in. We have no power.
Here?
Yeah, listen. So I pulled the relay out and I'm just jumping it with these needle nose. You can just hear it. Watch.
Ooh.
That works. If the relay works, then I think we're in good shape. We'll have to wire the micro square ECU to turn this relay on since there's no factory computer in the chassis. We'll have to trigger it somehow. We'll have to cut this apart, put in a new wire, run it to the new ECU so that when you turn the key, it turns on the pump. And then if it turns off, it turns the pump off. So you don't burn the car to the ground. And I know everybody's like, why are you putting carpet in your race car? It's because it's free. It came with my blue car. I don't know why, but it came with it. And I didn't pay any money for it. So might as well go somewhere. And
It's nice.
this car didn't have carpet in it, which is, I don't know why they took the carpet out. Like, all right. What up? And you can see where they wired this. Let me get you in here. Hold on. They ran the wires just through the chassis. Like they just took all of the wires, cut everything, moved everything to the back, and then just ran it through the side of the seat. Like I have no idea. But carpet fits well. All right, you might ask, well, why did you put the carpet in before you cut the deck? And I don't have a good answer for you. That's all right. We'll need to find some fittings that are 45 because if you use a straight fitting, you'll see how tall it is coming off the hat. And the reason the hat fittings were welded on in that direction is because there's very, very little material you can weld to, and it had to be in that direction to make it work. And you can see how tall these are. Won't work. So tonight, instead of finishing the plumbing, we're going to put the turbo manifold on, get the turbo in place, take a look at that, see what other fittings I need for the oil feed and return, and we'll make one trip to the performance shop. So this is Megan's first time putting a turbo on. She's going to take off that manifold and put her new turbo on. I mean, she's put the new turbo on. On exhaust manifolds that have probably never been taken off, these are usually very tight. I bet you Megan breaks at least one. No. No. Crack it off first. Hold your palm. Nope. Come this side. And hold your palm on it. Nope. Put the ratchet back down there. Is it coming loose?
Yeah.
No shit?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's not good. Well, no, maybe that is good. Someone had that manifold off at some point then. Wow. Is Megan gonna get lucky on her first manifold? Those things aren't even tight. Okay, and we may end up reusing these because the Chinese manifold that we bought probably doesn't have good hardware. But you can see the gaskets are original. I'm not sure why the manifold was loose. That's just, I'm not sure. That's weird. So these manifolds used to be $70. The one on Yoshi is the exact same model, and it used to be 70 bucks. These are now $140. Bing Bong Special, where I bought it, eBay, where it came from.
China.
This is a Max Speeding Rods. Max Speeding Rods. Look at this sticker, it's like textured, and it doesn't even have real English. That's definitely going on the car. Look how tiny that exhaust is though. No name turbo. Internal wastegate, so that we don't have to mess with any external stuff. If we want to increase the boost, we'll cut this line and put an inline mechanical boost controller. Let's throw it on, see how it looks. So that goes on, then you get a washer, and then you get a lock washer, and then you get your nut. That is not going to fit. We are scrapping the washer, going with just a lock washer. That still's not going to fit. So we're going to take the turbo off, and we're going to back the studs out just a little bit. So let's just put the turbo on for fun, and we will get new hardware. because these are gonna break. All right, we're gonna call it a night. Megan has to study tomorrow because she has an actual job, does actual things with her life instead of building cars. So you probably won't see her tomorrow, maybe not. But tomorrow we'll be getting on to plumbing it. I'm gonna go buy those fittings that are probably way too expensive, as you may know, and then jumping into getting it running. I've got the ECU. Oh, let me grab that. This is the box. Wow. Look at that. I didn't want to buy a really expensive standalone unit and have it plug into the wiring from the factory harness, which is a good thing because I don't know where to plug the computer in because I'd never found that plug. I'm not sure if they removed it or if they hid it somewhere. I couldn't find it. So this is a universal wiring harness and ECU that is going to be programmed by Eric at SQC, just like Yoshi. So tomorrow, maybe we'll get this in. Probably not. Probably do the front end. I don't know. We'll figure it out. She might not be here. It's the next day. Just like that, we're back in the shop. So I was pretty bummed out that the calipers Anthony gave me didn't have the bracket to attach it to the chassis. So I went hunting through my shed, and guess what your boy found? Rear calipers with everything you need, even the hardware. I brought these rotors just because I didn't know if the rotors that I have on the car will fit these, but I think they will. So I'm just gonna toss these. You don't need that stuff. And then I found a refurbished set of Z32 brakes. So this is the 4-piston caliper up front. But I'm going to change to something a little less clean and get these calipers on and get them bled. And then hopefully move on to getting the fuel lines plumbed and done. And then we can get onto the turbo, get it clocked in the right position. We'll get these Z32 brakes installed here. Always a good idea on all your brake parts. Just put some Loctite on there. And the nice thing about these calipers, you don't have to put the pads in right away. You can actually feed them in through the top. I don't know what to torque them to, probably like 100, something like that, but let's see here. That's good right there. Pads, I think they're all universal on this one, yep. They just slide in here. And just a little bit. And there is another clip that goes on top of here that keeps these separated. I just don't have that clip, so they might rattle a little bit for now, but not a huge deal. Brake lines don't look too great. We're missing the clip. We'll need a clip to go on to the coil there. Just like that. Now we're going to move on to the passenger side and the rears and then get these things bled. Hopefully that master cylinder doesn't leak like a sieve, which it probably will. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, everything was going smooth on this side too until I saw the end of this line. This fitting is completely stripped out, so we're going to make a trip to the shed and hope we have one or something that'll work. As you can see, that thing is completely shredded, and I think someone like ran it over. Maybe it was me. To the shed we go. Shed. It's got all the 240 parts, D21 parts, S13, S14 parts, just tons of parts. And we are looking for brake line. What are the chances it's the right one? Okay. Nope. So it turns out this is a 300ZX caliper and knuckle setup, so we're gonna have to get 300ZX rear calipers for this to work. It was confusing me because the 300ZX calipers don't have a banjo that I can remember. I think they're just a flared fitting, but I could be wrong. That was just throwing me off. So we'll retain the rotors that we had on the car, and we will order some Z32 rears, and then we'll get back on the brakes. But for now, we're gonna keep rolling. What we're gonna do is get this drive shaft installed. I keep tripping over it, so I wanna get it off the ground. I don't know what this is for, but it has the right spline count for the transmission, and it has the right flange for the differential. But you can see it's like It's like 6 inches too long. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the flange off the back, and I'm hoping there's a sleeve on the end of this U-joint, and then we can just slide it back in, weld it back on, get it installed, and then check it off the list. Nice. We got the end cleaned up and ready to be welded on. I just eyeballed the end here. You can make it as flat as you really want. There may be a little bit of vibration coming from this side, but it's not going to be too bad. I did the old stand test. You just stand it on the end and kind of just eyeball it, and it looks pretty solid. It's not driving across the country, so I'm not too concerned about it. We're going to get the U-joint welded on. And I wish I knew what this drive shaft was from, so you could potentially steal one for yourself. But I have no idea where it came from. I think it came inside a car when I bought it. When you buy these 240s, usually there's like at least 4 or 5 boxes of parts in them. Oh yeah, it's perfect. Shh, weld it together. Oh. Got it all painted. Get this thing in here. Dude, check it off the list. Drive shaft, free. So we got the drive shaft in, that's all taken care of. We're gonna get the turbo clocked so that I can get the oil return bung welded into the pan. And that's just a mild steel 10AN fitting that's gonna get welded on the side of the pan. Should have done that when it was out of the car, but I wanted to see kind of where things lined up. And there's no front end, so it's going to be very easy to weld it in the car. There may be a couple pieces of metal that get into the pan. I'll just fish them out with a magnet, and I'm really not too concerned about it. We did the same thing with Yoshi, and that was about 10,000 miles ago, so I think we're okay. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, when I say clock a turbo, all it means is you're going to rotate the housings to align where they work for your setup. So what we're doing is just rotating the entire assembly so that the drain is facing down and the feed is facing up, and then we're going to tighten down these bolts on the exhaust housing, and then we'll reinstall the compressor housing. Then we can locate where we're going to put the new bung for the oil return to go back into the pan. All right, now our housing goes back on. We're going to align this so that the charge pipe will probably come off somewhere in this area and then go straight into the intercooler. This may need to change a little bit, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now we're gonna drill a hole in the pan and get the bung welded in, and then we can figure out our length for our hose for the oil return. And then I need to get an oil feed line from the sending unit on the oil filter. New hardware for the flange, because the hardware that came with these is very questionable. And then we should be good to go on the turbo. Now that we got the bung welded on the pan, I'm going to take an old oil line I had from the race car. This is a leftover oil line from the blue car that the fitting stripped off, but I kept it because it's like 3 feet. So what we're gonna do is cut it right here. I put some tape on here, and I use my bandsaw to cut these braided lines just to try and keep them a little cleaner. We'll get this screwed on at the bottom here. I just put a 45-degree adapter on the AN fitting coming out of the pan. Slide this up here. So there you have it. That's how you install a turbo on your KA24. Next video, we'll be getting into the front end. So we'll be fabbing up all of the front end brackets, getting the kit put on so I can get the intercooler plumbed, and then we're gonna move on to wiring in the same video. I'm not gonna go too in depth with the wiring. As you can see, I've actually already labeled the engine harness coming off of the truck harness that I cut. This will allow you to tie the micro squirt universal harness directly into this You'll still have to run a couple of wires, but I'll get into this a little bit more in depth in the next video. And I'll link a video from Yoshi so you can see how I completely wired his harness into that truck. I actually built the engine harness itself, whereas I'm kind of just grafting the universal harness from the Micro Squirt onto this one. I'm hoping everything should work out pretty well. This will just allow me to do it a little bit faster and utilize all of the connectors as they are now, which could be a bad idea because they're 30 years old, but I think it'll be okay. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It really helps out with the videos. And who doesn't like putting turbos on dangerously high mileage engines? It's kind of what we do here. It's our thing.